You okay? Or
Yes.
that's all right. Take your time. It's all good. Well, look, firstly, kia ora, good afternoon, everyone. It's absolutely fantastic to be here today. Can I just say a big thank you to Rick and Shirley Ann Mannering for hosting us at your incredible place today and being so generous, spending time sharing what you've been up to. And at the end, I'll get you to say a few words as well. But just thank you for letting us come out to your place. It's been really great. We're heading into the biggest rural week of the year, which is, of course, Fieldays. It's awesome to be here with our fantastic Ag and Trade Minister, Todd McClay, also our Associate Ag Minister, Mike Butterick, but also our great Conservation Minister, Tama Potaka, and also Louise Upston, who's here because she had a very special connection with Alan Livingston. I want to talk about that at the end of my remarks. But also great to have with us Matthew Paul and Emma Chatterton, our National Party candidates for Port Waikato and Papakura, respectively. Look, it's no secret, National backs farmers. It's as simple as that. When we came to office, confidence in the sector was on the floor. The red tape squeezing the sector was out of control. Farmers were bogged down in regulation. Mental health was suffering. Investment had dried up. And our most efficient primary producers, our Kiwi farmers, were being told that they were the problem. We campaigned on getting Wellington out of farming, rebuilding confidence and finding ways to meet environmental obligations through smart, less costly rules. We've listened to the concerns of our rural and farming communities, and we've delivered simplified environmental regulations, reduced compliance costs and clear outcome-driven rules. We've removed agriculture from the ETS, we've banned full farm-to-forest conversions, and we've made a huge investment recently in ridding the country of wilding pines. We got rid of the ute tax. We created an investment boost, which gives a 20% instant asset write-off for tax purposes. We're replacing the RMA, as you well know, so that farmers have fewer resource consents, faster processing times, and frankly, a system that respects their property rights. We've tripled investment in rural support. We've launched a contestable rural wellbeing fund and increased investment in catchment groups. We've got spades in the ground now on the Waikato Medical School, which of course will send much needed doctors and nurses out into rural New Zealand. And we've delivered an Indian free trade agreement, which Labor said was impossible, but we are not stopping there. Today, we are backing farmers and their conservation efforts. Some of New Zealand's most important conservation areas aren't in our national parks, they're actually on private farms, just like this one we're here today. For nearly 50 years, farmers and landowners have voluntarily protected native bush, wetlands and habitats on their own land, and often at their own cost. National is backing them to keep that going. The QEII Trust is a charitable organisation that is funded by government to help and to encourage farmers and landowners with this work. This, I think, is the best value conservation work in the country. Every dollar the government puts in, farmers match many, many times over, and it's great bang for the buck for both the taxpayer and for our nature. Most of our rarest plants and animals don't live in the national parks, they live on farms, they live in lowland bush and wetlands, and our farmers are quietly saving some of our rarest species and fragile habitats, one fence gully at a time. So as I said, this is a really practical partnership approach to it with our communities that they actually want. Landowners choosing to protect significant sites, not having it forced on them from Wellington. Protecting these ecosystems on private land is vital for the future biodiversity of New Zealand. However, the Trust has actually had no increase to its funding or base funding since 2015. Today we're changing that because if elected, National is committing to permanently double the baseline funding of the Queen Elizabeth II Trust in Budget 2027. Just before I hand over to Tama to say a few remarks, I just did want to acknowledge the family of Alan Livingston, who is here with us today. Alan was the chair of the QE2 Trust, passed away unexpectedly in April. But I'm telling you, he was a real passionate advocate for the QE2 Trust, and as a former mayor of Waipa, a really strong advocate for his community. Alan's work lives on with QE2's work, and I hope he would be absolutely delighted with our announcement today. To his family, can I just say thank you so much for being here with us, and with that I'll hand over for Tama to say a few remarks.
Kia ora tātou. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of the Prime Minister in relation to Alan. Janet, thank you and your whānau for your leadership over many years. Alan used to reinforce what was an important principle of my life. If you look after the land, it will look after you. And that's something that Rick and Shirley, I just wanted to acknowledge you for hosting us here today, and of course having those links with that beautiful part of the country down in Ruapi around Raitea and Oahu, carrot country, and the mahi that you're doing here to make sure we get rid of feral cats. Feral cats must go, just to remind everyone. I'm responsible as the Minister for the mahi that Dan and others, the QE2 directors who are here today, Debbie and others, and the outstanding energy and enthusiasm that you bring to work alongside the government, but particularly with our farmers throughout the country, who are some of the most passionate conservationists and environmentalists that we have in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Farmers are absolutely at the forefront of environmental stewardship. And we are here to partner with farmers, to back farmers, not only with the work around QE2, but also with the predator-free work, chasing deer and goats all up and down the Parapara Highway and other places, and also with some of that work on the wilding pines. And this, again, support to double the baseline monies into QE2 will reinforce our commitment to conservation, our commitment to pragmatic environmentalism, but also our commitment to work alongside and partner with our farmers up and down the country. I won't take much more time because I know that the Prime Minister would like to invite the farmers, the owners of this property here to make a few comments, but again, it's a fantastic day here in the Hunuas, here in Bombay, and I'm only here to support the Prime Minister and those who are working the land. Kia ora.
Well, thank you, Tama. Can I just also acknowledge Wayne and Fed Farmers, to say thank you for your leadership. Tracy and Dairy NZ, it's great to see you here, as well as Beef and Lamb as well, and we appreciate all your support. We listen to the industry and we listen to the sector, and that's a lot of where this has come from. I just thought it might be useful if Rick and Shirley Ann talk a little bit about what you're doing on the property here and how this program works in reality. It would be nice to hear from you, but I'll pass over to you to say a few words. We'll come back, take any questions on the announcement, and then we'll move to questions of the day as well. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Kia ora.
Hey, welcome to my media scrums. It's a bit overwhelming.
So basically, Shirley Ann is the driving force, along with the guys that work with us here on the farm, and it's her vision that's driven us forward. But without the help of QE2 and with Auckland Council, and without the support of the national government, I mean, we couldn't be doing what we're doing, and it's exactly right. The value for money that you guys get by investing in farmers and investing through the QE2 pays off in a huge amount, because farmers, you know, there are so many farmers in this country. I'm involved with the New Zealand Farm Environment Trust, and you meet so many farmers who are doing great things in New Zealand, and they'd really like to do more. Constraints around budgets have been really strong for the last few years. There's a little more money now in the system, but there's a real need out there to help those guys along and encourage them on their journey to improve their farms. So I'll hand you to Shirley Ann now.
Well, the permanent idea of the funding is extremely good, because it doesn't stop once we've covenanted the land.
Yes.
There's still the weed control, there's still pest and predator control, and that's ongoing forever. So actually, the more you protect, the bigger job you give yourself and the more time it takes. So the more bait you have to buy, the more bullets you have to buy for our pest control. And so I think it's just knowing that there's that support behind us, and it's not just farmers doing it on their own, even though that hasn't stopped them with farmer-led catchment groups and covenant work that they do.
Yeah, I think that model is the right way. The way we're working on wilding pines together, the way we're working on catchment groups, predator-free, and now the QE2 Trust of actually when government partners with you guys, everyone wins, really. It's really a good combination. Yeah.
Well, farmers know their farms better than anyone else. And so they're in the best position to say where the best money can be spent. Yeah. And, I mean, they chip in their labour for $1 an hour and work tirelessly to improve the situation.
Great environmentalists.
Yeah, they are.
Great. Okay, well, listen, let's take any questions you have as media team on the announcement, and then we'll move to other general issues of the day if we can after that.
Prime Minister, do you look into how you might afford this response?
Look, I mean, we've put it into our core budget funding. As I said, as a national party, this is what we'll go to the campaign with, as one of the many things in our agricultural set of policies that we'll go to the campaign with. But for us, it's a no-brainer to double the amount of funding here. Very, very, very achievable.
Why? So there was a temporary uplift to 5.6 million per year. Why not double that rather than the 4.2 figure?
I can't talk to that. I just know that we're doubling from 4.27, as I knew it, into 8.5 as we go forward from here.
So the government funding, government gave extra funding, a temporary uplift.
That temporary uplift is, we gave a temporary uplift, 1.5 per year for 3 years, but now we're going to double the baseline funding, and we're comfortable with that. But importantly, the multiplier effect that any additional funding has when you partner up with farmers and others who are often putting in 5 for 1 or 4 for 1 of the funding that we're putting in, you'll see an absolute explosion of biodiversity and also some of the landscape features that we want to see.
It's just a program that works really well, and to put more momentum behind it, it means we can do more. It's proven out over the last 50 years, and it's something that should have happened sooner, but we've got to get onto it.
Certainly, if the temporary funding was deemed necessary for 3 more years, why not make it permanent and double the network?
Oh, well, just that we had a baseline funding, we had a temporary piece over the top, we just decided to double the baseline funding. I wouldn't get too hung up on it. The fact that we're doubling the support for the QE2 Trust and powering up that work in combination with farmers and the community is exactly what we want to see. Yeah.
Prime Minister, it has emerged that you've got this $1 billion from the budget that is from next year.
Sorry, we'll just move to any other questions. Good. Okay, we'll go to questions of the day. Yep.
I mean, could that money be used for this? Or can you give us an idea of what that money is?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to that this morning. Essentially, we have, just as we were forming the budget, there was an accounting issue related around transport spend with respect to whether it's CapEx or OpEx. As a result, we were wise and smart to put a contingent aside for that, about $300 million a year for each of the years over the course of the budget. We are working our way through that policy decision as to whether that money will be required or not required. And you know, we'll do that very shortly. Clearly, we want to be very upfront and resolve that issue as quickly as possible so that all parties will have clarity before we do the pre-fu, before we go into the election. So, but that's what it was. Essentially an accounting provision about the treatment of CapEx versus OpEx with respect to transport, and we're working our way through that.
You say transport, could it be used to fund the cancellation of petrol tax increases?
No, this is a peculiar accounting treatment issue that came up just as the budget was being finalised. We thought it was prudent to put money aside. As I said, we'll work our way through whether the money's needed or not needed. We just needed time to discuss that. We'll make that fully transparent with everybody so they understand all of that. But in fairness, that policy work just needs to get bottomed out. And I know the Minister of Finance and her team are working on that pretty quickly.
How aligned do you think New Zealand First Act would be on this policy?
Well, look, I'd hope all parties across the Parliament support it. I mean, I think it's just common sense. We know this is a program that works. By us doing, putting the money in, it's actually the real work happens with the farmers and the community. They've got outstanding results. For every dollar we put in, we get massive benefits, a good return on that investment. So, I'd hope other parties would get in behind it too.
Do you know, Minister Potaka, would you have an idea where Act New Zealand First would sit on this?
I don't think we want to presuppose where other parties are. This is a National Party, election announcement, and we support that very strongly. If they want to get on board with it, that'd be great.
What do you think sets obviously this will be one of your primary policies that you'll trumpet at Fieldays in the next couple of days. What do you think sets National apart from its coalition partners in the agri space?
Well, look, I think the agriculture sector knows they've had a national, they've had a government that's backed them, and a lot of the national policies we campaigned on in 2023 we've enacted, and we stand by that. There are other parties that have, haven't supported an Indian FTA. There are other parties that supported a planting of 1 billion trees to do farm and forest conversions, and we're a party that's been backing and listening to the agricultural community right from day one. When I became the leader, I went and met with the agriculture community within that first week, and I think we've listened really carefully, we've partnered really well, and we'll continue to make that case strongly.
Prime Minister, just going back to budget issues, the Greens have come out today saying that the government has a nearly $500 million hole in the budget because of the increased employment contributions to KiwiSaver that were implemented last year, and as that hasn't been applied public service. What's your response? Oh,
it's utterly ridiculous. We've built that into baseline funding as it was announced last year, and it's classic Greens really, not following the money. And so, we've said up front that's a baseline funding issue. Obviously, there's more money going into health and education as part of baseline funding over the course of this budget too. No, it's well covered for.
Does that complicate it though that you're implementing these cuts in 30 years? Will that be difficult to meet?
No, we're not. No, we're just we make savings. We do things more efficiently than maybe the Greens and Labor did. Classic case would be the cost of a classroom. It's halved under us. Means we can do twice as many classrooms for the same money that Labor had, just through better management. That's what you get with the National Party: good, strong, responsible economic management.
With Labor now polling higher, are you expecting National will lose seats you currently hold, like Hutt South and Mount Foster at the next election?
Well, I just reject the assertion in your question.
You've often said Labor is soft on crime, but they've now got Rakesh Naidu joining their ranks. Would they be about to become the party of the order?
I think that is a ridiculous question, with all respect. This is a Labor Party that actually had one target, which was to reduce the prison population by 30% at a time when violent crime went up 33%, gang membership went up 50%. There was a doubling of retail crime and a fourfold increase in ram raids. New Zealanders remember incredibly well what it was like in 2023, where we had rising levels of crime. Under this government, we've tackled the gangs, we've sent a clear message to young offenders, and we've sent a message to judges to cap sentencing discounts as well. The consequence is there's 49,000 fewer victims of violent, serious crime. That's 49,000 individuals and families that are not going through the trauma of violence and a violent offence. There's equally 22% reduction in serious youth offending. That's a really positive thing. So, when you've got a Labour Party that wants to have a 30% reduction in the prison population, you've got a Green Party saying they want to defund the police, and you've got a Te Pāti Māori that says they should abolish prisons, I think we know who the parties of law and order are.
Following on from that, Mr Naidu, the Police Minister has come out and said that he's disappointed that Mr Naidu's intention to run for Labour wasn't disclosed earlier, and that he was included in sensitive briefings on government policy and public safety. Are you concerned that threatens police's political neutrality? Well,
look, we expect public servants and police to be politically neutral. I think it would have been advantageous for him and for the Labour Party, frankly, for him to have declared his political intentions to his employer, the police, and I'll leave that for the Police Minister to give him the statement that he's just issued.
Is that something that you're going to be following up on? Because, sensitive briefings is very
well. I'm sure the Police Minister has raised it for that very reason, which is that we expect neutrality from our public police and public servants. I think if a candidate wants to run for office, they need to declare that with their employer pretty early.
What about comments from Chris Hipkins saying that he uses the publicly funded private superannuation scheme to pay off the mortgage for his family holiday home?
Yeah, look, I just think I'm not going to go into that too much. It's a decision for him, but given his remarks in recent weeks about parliamentary and MP entitlements, it sort of feels like, do as I say, not do as I do. But that's ultimately for him. What I'm more fixated on is how do we lift the retirement savings for all New Zealanders, and that's why we as a National Party want to increase our contribution so that we get to a total contribution employer and employee of 12% by 2032, which would align with what the Australians are doing. That's how we make sure people have got a good nest egg and are well settled in their retirement. But with respect to his issues, that's something he's got to answer for.
Do you think he's being a bit hypocritical?
Well, I'll leave you to hold him to account. Yep.
There's also been one of the candidates suggesting that Labour will run on tax relief policies. Would you welcome that as a National Party that's offered tax relief?
Sounds like they might have joined the wrong party, because that's a party that just knows how to spend more, tax more and borrow more. We've seen a capital gains tax being proposed by Labour. We've seen a wealth tax. We've seen a trust tax. We've seen a land value tax being proposed by other parties in that consortium as well. So, look, New Zealanders get it. We are cleaning up the mess of Labour, which was, frankly, spend more, borrow more, tax more. Nothing's changed in their lineup. It's the same people. It will be the same policies, and it creates a huge amount of suffering for everyday New Zealanders.
Prime Minister, just another budget question on
Yep.
behalf of a colleague. So this goes to your announcement of longer stays in hospital for new mums.
Yes.
So you've only announced operational funding for 3 days postnatal stay. But the Ministry said there needed to be 100 million in capital funding for 175 new beds just to cope. Where will all these numbers go?
Yeah, so there's three parts to this announcement. The first is that we're establishing the legal right for a mother to have access to a 3-day stay in hospital. The second thing is that we are starting with new mums across the country as quickly as we possibly can. And finally, over a 3-year period, we get to all mums. It does vary by region. There's lots of different models of delivery, and there'll be some regions that have resources and are ready to go. There'll be others that will have to work that through with them through Health NZ as well. But the good news is that we, in terms of midwifery and the workforce there, it doesn't look like we have any challenges there. We think that's quite doable to get the workforce in place. And you're right, we just need to work through region by region exactly what the deliveries may be. And they could be completely different models. We may well be working with iwi health organisations in some regions. We may be working through hospitals and others. So, it's a very clear rollout, but we've got to put ourselves on this pathway, because it's something that I know Louise Upson has advocated for very strongly in our party and in our parliament for some time. It's the right thing to be doing. Mums should be able to have a 3-day stay to support them at a critical time.
From Sheep and Lamb New Zealand, talking about the red meat sector at the moment is doing really well. It's soaring. It supports about 1 in 20 jobs. We've got some really good data that's come out.
That's great, isn't it? It's fantastic.
Just what is your reaction to that as a win for New Zealand, and why do you think it
Yeah, look, I mean, our exports are up $17 billion. If you look at it, dairy's been doing exceptionally well, selling high value added product out into the world. It's been really exciting to see the red meat sector come through so strongly. They've done an excellent job as a sector getting out and about and talking about the pasture-fed system, and that's a point of differentiation out there in the world. But, you know, we've got massive growth across Europe, even into the UK. Even in spite of US tariffs, we've seen a huge, opportunity for us to continue to grow our business in North America as well. The world, essentially, if you look at the North American herds, they have run their herds down over a number of years. It's very difficult for them to build that up to meet the demand that exists there, and that's where New Zealand product comes in. And you would have noted that under the US tariff regime, even beef has gone back to zero tariff. So our exporters have done a great job in primary industries. Beyond dairy and red meat, it's also wool's doing well or doing better for the first time in a long time. And importantly also, so is our horticulture sector. Tourism's up 9%, international education's up 11%. And that's why for the first time in 5 years we have a trade surplus where we actually export more to the world than we import in.
David Seymour has just put out a press release saying that your policy today reflects an idea championed by ACT, saying, quote, National have effectively adopted an idea Mark Cameron promoted and ACT took to voters in 2023.
Well, that is awesome that we've got bipartisanship on a critical idea, and that the good farmers of New Zealand can know that between the respective government parties they've got support, which is fantastic. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that what you want to see? Bipartisanship breaking out across the Parliament.
Repackaging ACT party policies, would that be the case?
Well, listen, this is something we've heard very strongly from the agricultural community for a number of years, and it's been a real desire of ours to get this delivered and done, and I'm very proud that we want to do it, and it's great that others want to jump on and do it as well. It's amazing.
Are you aware of any New Zealanders affected by the Philippines earthquake?
No. I did speak quickly to our emergency services team, who reassured me there wasn't at this point a risk around a tsunami for New Zealand. Obviously, that's what we were initially focused on. We need to get a sense of the situation, and ultimately, if there's any requests for help, we would duly consider that as well.
Have you been briefed on the re-escalation of fighting Israel and Iran?
I've seen the same reports. It's incredibly concerning. We want to see a de-escalation of conflict in that region. We don't want to see an escalation in the way that it looks like it's happening. We need to see the parties come together, negotiate a ceasefire, get to a resolution, and frankly, diplomacy is what needed, not more military action. So the good news is that we have been prepared with respect to our fuel supply. You would have seen our fuel numbers come out today. We have also got the tanks completed for the extra 9 days worth of diesel storage, and the ships are on their way here. Equally, we also have put aside $450 million in the budget as a contingency, given the unpredictability of this conflict, in case we need to support New Zealanders further. And the third thing is we've got a very good refined fuel response plan now, which has been built with industry. In the 1% chance that we need phase 4, we're clear about what we would do in that situation. So, we can't control. What we can control is our response to it, as I've said from day one. But we've got to call on all the parties to actually get to a peace that's actually of benefit for everyone in the world. Okay, thank you, team. Have a good day, and thank you for coming out today. Appreciate it.